episode. It's focusing very much on dramatic parts of the upcoming season. So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, well, I'm just going to say mark your calendar because the season premieres on July 23rd.
Very cool.
Woohoo! Already marked. Counting
I
down
noticed that the puppets weren't shown in the teaser, although we've seen a little bit of it before, but it's not in the teaser. And I was thinking, oh, there's going to be some really upset cosplayers.
They don't have time to prepare, huh?
There was a couple who did the Muppet cosplay on the Star Trek cruise.
Yes. Yeah, there were.
That was impressive. I also watched frame by frame, and unfortunately, once again, we're not in it.
No. Well, there's that one big shot in engineering. Maybe we're in that shot, because a lot of that is backlit, and you can't see who's there in that shot. So maybe we're there.
That would be awesome if we were on. That'd be awesome if they were watching the video on one of the little panels. In
the historical documentary archives.
Indeed. Yeah, so I'm excited about it. They promised leading into this that it was going to be much more return to form. Season 3 had its ups and its downs, but people said, well, I think maybe you want to dial back some of that other stuff, and it looks like that's indeed what's going to be happening. And it's a lot of it, I don't think, was a result of the feedback, because I think they'd shot most of this by the time season 3 premiered. But maybe they just realized themselves that we need to kind of get back to some fundamentals. So definitely looking forward to it, and us talking about the episodes as they come up.
I like the big swings, but they need to spread them out a little bit, I think.
Agreed. All right. What do you got for us, Chuck?
According to the CBR article, Star Trek is experiencing a major resurgence on premium video on demand, aka PVOD platforms, as the kids say, despite current franchise uncertainty. In April 2026, 7 different series simultaneously climbed the Apple iTunes charts in the US. Star Trek Voyager led the surge in 4th place, followed closely by the original series, The Next Generation, and Deep Space Nine. Even modern series like Strange New Worlds and Lower Decks saw gains. This spike follows recent criticism of, quote, modern Trek by author Andy Weir, and coincides with a production lull where no new series are currently filming. Oh, the irony.
Yeah, right.
Well, it could also indicate that, hey, there's no new Trek showing right now. Let's watch some old Trek.
True.
Yeah, why not?
Interesting that they only mentioned the Apple. Well, it's not called iTunes anymore, but they only mentioned Apple.
Right. Well, I don't think. Paramount doesn't give out numbers. They do have a daily top 10, but
I thought I thought Paramount actually started doing that.
Well, they have, like I said, they have that top 10, but I don't, as far as I know, but I could be wrong.
I remember our Nielsen.
Right.
Nielsen
that is information that Nielsen gathers at first. Well, they report to Nielsen their numbers, but you have to have a paid subscription to get access to that kind of information. You can see on Nielsen's free site the daily top 10 stuff.
It costs $1. Remember, they used to mail $1 to everybody to keep track of what.
Yeah, if you're going to have a little diary to put your stuff in there.
I was just thinking about that when you said that.
No,
remember us getting $1?
That's not how they do it anymore.
A whole $1.
It's $2 now. So.
Oh yeah.
All right. Yeah. So it is interesting to see that it's a little research there, and I don't think it's tied to what Andy Weir said. Andy kind of walked that back.
Yeah.
A lot anyway. So
sure.
All right. Let's move on to our next story, Craig.
All right. So Phasers 2 bummer.
Set.
Okay. Star Trek Resurgence is being beamed off the digital storefronts for good. Despite high praise for its top-tier Trek gaming experience, a no-win scenario with its expired 3-year license means it's being delisted from Steam and beyond. If you want to experience the 24th century journey, the Prime directive is clear. Secure your own digital copy immediately or hunt down a physical disc before the pattern buffers are wiped forever.
Yeah, as far as I know at this point, it's off of all the services. I went and I checked on Steam. It was gone, and I thought I actually had purchased it, but I hadn't. It's like, well,
Ooh.
it's too late now.
I think we
for
talked
that.
about it. I don't remember buying it myself either.
I think what was happening. I think I played the demo, which gets you to like the first couple of levels, and in my
Mhm.
head, I thought I had it, and nope, I did not.
Hmm.
All right, let's move on to our next story here. And Star Trek will receive the inaugural Franchise of the Year award at the 2026 Broadcast and Cable Hall of Fame ceremony in New York City on September 29th. Other inductees announced on Tuesday include Watch What Happens Live host and producer Andy Cohen, Food Network host and producer Bobby Flay, and Stephen A. Smith, host and producer of ESPN's First Take. While other programs such as American Idol, Days of Our Lives, Mad Men, The Simpsons, and 60 Minutes have been inducted in previous years, Star Trek is the first to receive the newly created Franchise Category Award.
Hmm.
So pretty cool for that. I'm sure that's in honor of its 60th as well, that was bestowed upon the series.
Nice. We'll take any awards we can get.
Oh, by
That's
the way,
right.
Jerry Cooper says that game was a memory hog on his PS5.
Oh,
Wow.
all right, Chuck, you're up next.
Yes. Make sure I got the right one going here. Paramount officially confirmed a new Star Trek movie is in development during their April 2026 CinemaCon presentation. However, the studio provided no specific details regarding the plot, cast, or release date, unlike other projects mentioned. The announcement comes during a transitional period that we're all well aware of for the franchise following Skydance's acquisition of Paramount. Reports suggest the studio has moved from the Chris Pine-led Kelvin timeline. They're moving on from that. And it's likely pursuing a completely new take on the universe. Ooh, I'm curious. This cinematic push arrives as the TV franchise faces a lull, with Strange New Worlds ending and other projects like Starfleet Academy and Year One reportedly stalled and or canceled.
Indeed. Yeah, we still don't have any official word on Year One. I wouldn't put my money on it, but the last I knew, and I've seen people report on this saying, oh, the sets are being torn down, but it's the same thing I think I mentioned to you guys, is that some of that is just taking down rigging, which is just lights and so forth that, somebody else can use those. So they're not going to just hold on those onto the set. Those can be put back up again. It's when you start to see that things go up for auction, which we'll be talking about in a minute. That's when you go, I think kind of done there. Jared had another question there. I wonder if Franchise of the Year is something that they can win repeatedly or only once. I'm guessing only once, because it seems like it's an honorific that, especially when you think about it being Star Trek, and it's probably for the franchise, not for the particular shows that were on this year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a recognition of the franchise in total for that.
That's true, because the franchise is going to change radically from one year to the next. The mention about Star Trek was really brief. There is a tweet from Deadline mentioned in this article. It says, Call of Duty, more Star Trek, and more Transformers coming soon. Paramount leaders say at CinemaCon presentation. That's all we got. So
more Transformers.
Well, if it's working, I mean, let's face it. As we know, if it ain't working, they're not going to do more of it.
Yep,
so.
It's true.
All right, Chuck, what's up?
No, Craig's up next.
Oh, is he?
You have one right behind you.
Oh, I do have another one right here. Okay. The 403 Auction House. We were just talking about auctions in Ontario is hosting a Star Trek auction #1, or should it be said number one?
No.
To commemorate the franchise's 60th anniversary. Fans can bid on authentic set pieces, from the Toronto-based productions of Strange New Worlds and the recently canceled Starfleet Academy. Double
Yeah.
row. The auction follows the dismantling of sets after Strange New Worlds concluded its 5th season and Starfleet Academy production was halted. While specific items haven't been finalized, iconic pieces like Captain Pike's chair, are highly anticipated.
Freudian slip there.
No, I did that on purpose. I was hoping for his, apron. But a portion of the proceeds will benefit DoSomething.org, a charity supporting youth-led community change. However, local residency is required for deposit-free bidding. So if you want to bid on something, you got to put down a deposit. I wonder how much the deposit is.
If you have to ask.
But they also don't ship.
No, you got to go get it.
Oh, we don't get free shipping on these items?
I don't know if you get paid shipping. They just don't ship, I believe. So,
Yeah,
But I have 403 Prime.
mm,
My membership includes free shipping
well, you
Yeah.
should have read the rules. Sorry.
that's right.
and some crappy videos.
Yeah.
All right. So moving right along.
Okay.
In a performance with more energy than a warp core at maximum output, William Shatner recently took to the Calgary stage to prove he is still the undisputed captain of the convention circuit. And at 95 years young, the legendary James T. Kirk deftly maneuvered past secret return rumors to engage his audience with tales of a glorious onset mayhem. From the systematic sabotage of Leonard Nimoy's bicycle to a chaotic story involving fermented fish. I need to catch up on that story.
In the microwave, maybe. Who knows?
All
Yeah.
we got was
Who
the
Who
lump.
nuked a fish for lunch?
All we got was a story about a lump in his neck.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah. So Shatner proved his storytelling as sharp as Vulcan's logic, essentially telling the no-win scenario of aging to get a life while his Starfleet legacy continues to live long and prosper.
Indeed. And
And we saw him on the cruise, of course, and he was actually doing a lot. It was one performance he was singing, and the other one he was moving around a good bit while he was telling stories and all that kind of stuff.
He did sit down for the photo ops and had a scooter running him around the ship a lot of the time.
Yeah, well, crying out
Seen
loud,
him
he's
look.
95.
Yep.
But he would look good for his. Actually, he looks about 20 years younger than he is.
I was just talking to my dad yesterday. He said, because he's having some hip problems, he said, overall, I'm doing pretty good, though. I got to walk with a cane, but most people in these apartments, they're either in a wheelchair or a walker. So I'm counting myself lucky.
Yeah,
Indeed.
right. Yeah.
All right, Craig, you have the next story. So let me give you a little break in between. This is going to be kind of off the fly, but
Sure.
in an update on Paramount purchasing Warner Brothers, the deal has been approved by the shareholders of Warner Brothers. So they've passed that hurdle. Of course, now there's regulatory hurdles that have to get taken care of as well. One of the other weird things that happened with Paramount, see if you guys can pick out what's weird about the story. Paramount Skydance launches new book publisher. That's right. In order to have synergy, they're going to have a new global Paramount Global imprint to expand iconic franchises and deepen original storytelling. Now,
I think I know where you're going with this.
a publishing company less than 2 years ago.
Simon and Schuster.
Yeah.
What's
And now
wrong
they're
with
gonna-
this picture?
Make another one. It just,
I missed what we had. Let's do it again.
yeah, that was great.
That one was defective. We'll try another one.
Yeah.
Also on the logistics of this purchase of Warner Brothers, a lot of the money is going to be coming from overseas for this. So if it goes through, 49.5% of Paramount Global will be owned internationally.
Interesting.
So that will be a bit of a change from
Yeah.
what we have right now.
Yep.
All right, Craig, you've got your other story then.
All right. So in Dayton Ward's new novel, Star Trek Picard to Defy Fate, Wesley Crusher, not Crutcher. You messed me up by talking about the wheelchairs and stuff. Wesley Crusher finally takes center stage as a multiverse repairman, tasked with stopping a rogue time traveler from unraveling reality. Set just weeks after the events of Picard Season 3, the story functions as a high-speed tour of Trek history, pulling in threads from the original series, Next Gen, and even more obscure Litverse Coda Trilogy, or the Coda Trilogy. While the narrative can feel a bit like drinking from a fire hose, the heavyweights like Jean-Luc Picard and Seven of Nine occasionally relegated to the background. The book excels at deep cut fan service, and character driven stakes. The primary takeaway for fans is that while the plot is a dense canon roller coaster that might leave casual viewers lost in the neutral zone, it often offers a rewarding, fast-paced exploration of the
Aegis,
and the moral complexities of protecting the timeline. It's a must-read for those who like their tea Earl Grey hot and their continuity meticulously connected.
I'm split on this after hearing about this. I really would love to read this because it's new and maybe we could get him on the show and create some content out of this. However, as I've been reading through several books recently, the author seems to spend a lot of time doing these back references. Have you've been reading our latest
yes.
work out for the next episode, Q Space.
Right.
And this seems to happen in a lot of the books, that they have to bring the reader in by referencing past episodes or scenarios, or like, can we have a story that just revolves around the story and not remind us of all these things that that we know that so it's getting a little tedious sometimes. I can hear the voices, I can see the actors. Except where there's new characters involved, you can make it up, but we don't do that for existing characters. Like in our new story, we have a new security person to take the place of Tasha. And her name is Laroyo, something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm pronouncing it properly because we'll talk about that later in the next episode of this show. But we don't go into her back scenarios. So why should we keep drilling on? So when they mention all these deep cuts in this book, I'm like, oh my God, half the book is going to be reminding us of episodes we watched that I really don't need reminding of. And while it's fun in Lower Decks, it gets tedious in a book to me anyway. That's anybody else feel that way?
Yeah. I have found it not to be always the same in the ones that I have read, that certain authors like to go really full Lower Decks, if you will, on it. And other ones, it's a passing nod here and there because maybe it has context, to what's being told in the story. And I think that's the best case to have it. It's like, okay, well, this actually means something to the story. It's not just a tangent off to the side.
Right.
Okay. So Jared is also saying that it's about a third of the way through the book, and there are some awesome references, including a copy of Strangers of the Sky sitting on a bookshelf. Yes, Strangers from the Sky is a classic Star Trek novel. So that
he's talking about this new one, Star Trek Picard to Defy Fate. Okay. Yeah. Like, I don't remember that title when I was going through the one we're reading. We're reading a different book. Okay, good. Just making sure I didn't read something too fast.
I'm kind of with you. I would like to see some stories that stand on their own with maybe an Easter egg or a nod, but and not be a central focus. However, I kind of get this one a little bit because it's about Wesley Crusher, and they're trying to play him as almost like Doctor Who of the Star Trek universe. So,
right. He's kind of like doing that same type of thing in Prodigy.
Yes.
Right. Where he's talking about all the different timelines and all those, so he was trying
they went to Gary Seven's office, didn't they?
A multiversal repairman. All I could picture is the butt crack. I'm sorry.
I was thinking of the Maytag repairman, but
I gotta get under your your transporter here. Take a look.
There's your problem right there.
All these dust bunnies under here.
All right. Well, I don't know if we've got Charlie still with us, but
Hopefully
we've
not.
got. But it's time to close up Subspace Chatter. So if he's still around, I'm just going to say it's time to say goodbye, Charlie.
I want to stay.
No.
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 Not going to happen. Not going to
Yeah.
happen. All right. And we will have links to a ton of other stories. I don't have the official count yet, but it's a lot, especially since we were, didn't do any the last time around. So check the show notes for
About 100 in here.
Yeah, but episode 201, we're all aliens on this bus, and you will get a lot of news from Star Trek. And there's still a lot of Starfleet Academy, but I think we're going to start to see probably the next episode, the increase in these Strange New World stories will start to really
Yeah.
pick up.
Especially since it's coming out in a couple months now.
Mm-hmm. All right, so it's time to go out on our main mission with inappropriate sound effect.
Sound effects. There we go.
Yeah, I guess making contact. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
So the assignment of this main mission was we were all challenged with coming up with our 10, I guess, favorite Star Trek aliens or best Star Trek aliens, whichever way you wanted to take it. And just like other top 10 lists that we've done or top fives, Chuck and Craig don't know what each of the other of them picked. They just sent theirs directly to me. And
Clint's a game master on this one.
yes.
Yeah.
So I sorted through them all. I made one mistake in something that Craig sent me, so we won't
That's
have
all
an image for his first one on his list. But we'll show you an image. The person will get a chance to talk about, why they really like this alien species, what's intriguing about them, and we'll chime in as well on it. All
Craig,
right, so
Craig, the Fallopians are not a race on Star Trek.
Really?
aren't they members of the tubes? Anyway,
Yeah. Right.
all right.
I'll talk to you later. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let's start off with Chuck.
All right.
Chuck, your first pick was
My first pick was the Betazoids.
Oh yeah.
I like the Betazoids. They're very, if I could be a Betazoid and have telepathic abilities, even Deanna can sense emotions, but full telepaths, they can communicate without even speaking. So obviously you have to be able to block someone's thoughts or not broadcast when you don't want to broadcast, but think how much easier communication would be, particularly with your significant other, if you could feel what they feel, hear what they think. That might be a little chaotic at times.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not quite sure that would always work out for the best.
It would
but-
have to be selective broadcasting and selective receiving. Of course, that's kind of like my selective hearing right now. So I don't know if we're getting anywhere with this discussion. But the amount of characters we've seen throughout the Star Trek lore, and even in the latest book we're reading, has been very intriguing. I find the Betazoids very interesting. So that's where I started.
Okay. And like I said, Craig, your very first pick, I do not have an image for. So you want to tell us about that one?
You are forgiven, Clinton. It's okay.
Actually,
So-
I realized that I couldn't have an image even if I had made a miscommunication.
Oh, you could have drawn a
Hand
little
draw.
little
Yeah, I
stick
could have
figure.
drawn something.
A stick figure with a ridged head. I don't know. No, the Elborians, and this may be a little stretch because we talked about this earlier. I don't know what the actual rules were, if we had any.
They're
So
more
what-
like guidelines.
more like guidelines. So the Elborians were introduced to us through the Star Trek Con podcast, and they were powerfully like a psychic species. They ended up crash landing on City Alpha 5, and
No spoilers. No spoilers.
I'm not going to try and get many spoilers, but it did come out months ago now. The one thing that I thought was interesting about them is they destroyed SETI Alpha 6,
You
causing
just
all the problems.
spoiled it.
I know, causing the problem with for Khan and his group, and then they crash land and end up making a uneasy alliance with them. So I wouldn't say they're any more special than any other race, but just that realization when we were listening, I was like, oh wow, it's their fault, you know. So they were the reason that SETI Alpha 6 blew up.
Yeah, that's a little stain on their record there, I think, at that point. Just that they did that.
Yeah.
All right, and my first pick is the Tholians.
Ooh.
We get to see the Tholians in 2 different universes in Star Trek. We get to see them in the Prime universe when they try to capture the Enterprise, and of course the Defiant disappears, and then in Enterprise in the Mirror universe, which is a story connected with the Defiant, and that expands a bit more on what they look like, because their challenge was, okay, now all we've seen so far of the Tholians was this kind of headpiece, but what do the actual Tholians look like? And the concept being that they live in extremely hot temperatures, and what would that be? Is that a mask that's being worn? Is that the actual creature? So I thought it was a good representation. It's also very interesting to have this this whole concept of weaving this web, which really seems like you have to have your enemy fairly
stationary
to do. Yeah. Otherwise, it's like your web is going to get really long. You're at warp.
We can't in front of them first, then in back of them.
Ah, I see. Kind of put down some spikes and
like basketball defense.
Yeah. But I do think it was interesting to have that as just a different way of approaching an alien, especially in TOS. We didn't see them at all, except for that kind of very fuzzy image, which that was the theory behind having them living in a hot environment, because as you recall in the original series, kind of wavy image, and people think that was like heat coming out from there.
That was bad reception.
No, that's...
It was the 60s. You had to adjust the rabbit ears.
Yeah, they had to get outside to do that, so that was always a problem.
And that one image you got on the right, it looks like a little bit like Rocky from Project Hail Mary. Except for he's got eyes and a face.
So take that, Andy Weir. All right, let's. But we should move on from this point. So, Chuck, you're number 2.
The Organians, originally from Errand of Mercy, the TOS episode. Spoiler alert. These are beings that come across kind of placidly at first, and you're like, what's wrong with these people? When they're going, this is no consequence for us. Like, your planet's about to be exploded, and you're sitting here playing Chinese checkers or something. But you realize that they're a being that has transcended their corporeal bodies. They are energy beings, which is going to be kind of a theme in some of my other choices. But they were powerful enough to employ and enforce a peace treaty on the Klingons and the Federation, much to the chagrin of both.
Yes.
But luckily for us, otherwise, who knows what would have happened. So I think the Organians are kind of cool.
And I love the piece of trivia where nobody notices when they go to enter a room that the doors open by themselves. It's it's like
on every room on the Enterprise they open themselves.
No, but right. but here on this planet, it's like, why would they have that technology? They don't, nothing else about their culture would scream that.
Why would you even have doors?
Well, because every once in a while you have to take a corporeal form, and you just kind of, it gets, walk into the wall or something like that.
Right. Just take a corporeal dump.
No.
You need a door for that.
I think we'd better move on. All right. So, Craig, your pick number 2 is?
The Tellarites. Now, I was going to say the our favorite character, one of our favorite characters is a Tellarite, and that would be Jacob Pog. Excuse me.
Boy, this guy is one nebula short of a galaxy.
I like the Tellarites because you look at them and the way they act and interact with everybody else, they're combative. They don't, they want to argue all the time, but it's a way, they think that's polite form of communication is when you're argumentative, and they view debate as a way to test ideas and build mutual respect, and I dig that.
You think that's funny?
I said I dig that.
You think you dig that?
Yes.
No, he's doing it again.
Save it for our own podcast, Chuck.
I don't care about your digging.
Yeah. Now I will admit that they looked a little weird when we first saw them in TOS. Get the sunken eyes, but they haven't changed a whole lot.
Hey, don't call other races weird looking.
Well, what I found interesting is, if you're watching the video version of this, I've tried to pull images for all of these and as many versions as I can do in
You
the
got
time
like
allotted.
5 up there. Yeah.
And every series seems to interpret the Tellarites different.
Mhm.
Talk about Klingons. No, the Tellarites are like all over the board in terms of what they look like.
That's right.
They have a common nose ish.
Yeah, ish, kind of, and they kind of have tusks mostly.
They can-
Look how many different noses
I
humans
think
have.
the TOS one looked a little more pig-like than some of the more modern ones a little bit.
Well, if I had to guess, they probably had some mask that they started as their foundation to work it from.
Mhm.
I'm just guessing, but I don't know. All right,
And they are a founding race of the Federation,
That is
which
correct.
Exactly royalty.
which
Yes.
is I found interesting because you didn't think it'd be easy to work with them, but the way they hard to talk to. So, but hey,
All right, and my next alien species, or my next species, alien species is redundant and not really what we want to
Relative.
say.
and relative.
Is actually 6 different species. It's the
Ooh.
Xindi.
Oh, of course.
So we have the aquatics, the arboreals, the avians, RIP, insectoids, primates, and reptilians. And I just found it I think this is one of the subjects we talked about with Dr. Noor when he was on, because
Mhm.
just this idea of the Xindis and having 6 intelligent species, come to pass in the same environment, on the same planet,
Mhm.
is just very weird. So I found it interesting that how do you make that work? And they had trouble making it work because, blowing up your own planet and killing one of the 6 groups is, that's a slight problem there. But
It invites debate.
yeah. And we've seen at least one of the groups since then in Star Trek Prodigy, but I don't think we've seen any of the other species of the Xindi show up anyplace else. I couldn't find any example of it
I
anyway.
don't think so either. Yeah.
Oh, real quick, we got a note on here from Sarah Rose.
Okay.
She said, just got to go back to work in a couple of minutes, but wanted to pop in and say that the Subspace Rhapsody Picture Show auditions are open now through May 11th. So,
And that takes place at Dragon Con.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to be at Dragon Con and you want to participate, the auditions are open.
All righty. All right, let's go on to your pick number. I believe we're up to 4. And start with you, Chuck.
No, we're on number 3.
3.
Oh, is it 3? Oh, sorry.
Number 3 for me is the Q. Not just the one guy Q, but the whole Q continuum.
Mm-hmm.
Because, the one that picks on Picard can be a bit annoying. A bit.
A bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
However, not all of them are of the same cut. So, there's the female Q. There's the curious one who wanted to commit suicide. There's the son. There's The guy who just hangs out at the gas station in the
Yep.
desert.
Yep. Fill her up. Yeah.
There's many of them, and I find them very curious. Again, entities that have evolved beyond their corporeal form, their energy, but apparently we can't perceive them as their natural state. So every time they have to represent themselves, they have to do it in such a way that our limited conscious brains can interpret them, which must be quite frustrating for them. But
Yeah.
it's kind of like taking a 2D world and representing it on a 3D world and representing it on a 2D map. Sorry, I got that backwards. But or even 1D and going. But there's just a whole lot to explore with the Q Continuum. I'll never pass up an opportunity to check out a story that involves the Q.
Well, John Delancey's Q, he turned a couple of humans into Q people.
Mm-hmm.
People.
Riker was one of them.
Yep.
Riker. And what was her name? The
April Roberts? No, she
Yeah.
was already a Q, but she was chastised because she was in hiding. They do bring that out in the book we're reading.
yeah.
Okay. Let's move on to your number 3, Craig.
I thought this was an interesting race. The Cask, of course, we don't know a ton about them because we only got to see their introduction and learn about them a little bit through Starfleet Academy. But they're a photonic race, and they're kind of in league with, or compatible, I guess, with the Doctor. And we saw the whole story play out, which was an excellent episode, I believe. And they shun outsiders, but they were trying to reach out and investigate whether they were worth connecting to, which I thought was interesting because although the Doctor is compatible with them because of his holographic nature, that they needed outside help to make Sam better or straighten her out. So I thought it was an interesting race, just for how I'm curious how they operate, and you got that not cube world, but that diamond shaped world look to it. Anyway,
Right.
I thought it was an interesting race.
Your
Yeah.
mention of the Cask reminded me of one of the aliens that I thought of that I could not find on that comprehensive list that we saw, and that was Tosk, the first the species who was bred to be hunted. On
Oh,
Nine
yeah,
came
yeah.
through. I am Tosk. What does that mean?
Yeah, I remember that.
Lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fascinating creature.
Miles O'Brien was helping him out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ram Scoop, Argonauts, Argonoids, whatever it was.
Okay. And my next pick is going back to classic here for the Horta.
What is that baby Horta on the shelf doing?
That's its second appearance. The Horta's second appearance was in Star Trek Scouts.
Oh, that was like a lower deck.
Oh, right. I had forgotten about that. You're right.
One of the reasons that I like the Horta so much is because very early example of a species pointing out how narrowly focused humans can be
on carbon
in terms of
forms.
what life is, and
Oh,
what,
yeah.
what the purpose is. It's like, well, it's destroying the stuff that we're doing, so we're just we're not going to ask why or try to figure that out. We got to hunt them down and get rid of it.
Yeah.
And find out that, well, the Horta is actually smarter than you are. It's already understanding a second and a third language. And, so yeah, definitely so. So I like that about it. And also another example of the implementation was a 60s implementation of it, but something that just doesn't look like another person in a suit.
Right.
It's like,
It wasn't a bipedal, 2 arms, 2 legs, a head. Yep.
so well done on a
I
low
wonder
budget.
if this was any inspiration for the episode of Next Gen with the exocomps, and they were drilling the planet and they hit the layer of creatures that were in the saline layer
yes.
down below.
Could be.
Because
Yeah,
that was
maybe.
yet another life form where you go, well, There's no life here that you recognize.
Yeah. But look closer. All right, Chuck, your next pick.
My next pick is the Binars. Because, who wouldn't want to communicate at 9,600 bits per second with their friends over a modem?
Yeah, right.
But I thought it was interesting from the standpoint that they could communicate at high speed. It sounded more efficient and more in line with the language that the computer spoke. So I was like, wow, if I could communicate with my computer faster than going through the keyboard or speaking to it, imagine how much faster I could get things done. So, 40 years ago when we were watching the episode, like, oh, that's cool. I want to be able to do that. So put a USB port in my neck.
Yes, and they've made multiple appearances now because they were also on Lower Decks.
Yep. And I love how they have like that little computer Band-Aid on their head.
Yeah.
Not sure what that's for.
Computer Band-Aid.
All right, and your next one, Craig, is
Species 8472.
Oh, I'm writing a song about that.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll be looking forward to that.
Yep.
So, I like this race because I was very intrigued when we first saw them because I think it felt like they were trying to one up a character on the Borg, make them scary and like the Borg, you go, oh crap, we got to stay away from them. They're going to assimilate us. And I think felt like they were trying to make another situation like that. However, they're supposed to be like biologically advanced. The Borg even thought they were
Like
they were
the
superior.
ultimate. Yeah, they wanted to conquer them, but they couldn't.
right.
Yeah, they couldn't do it because their systems would purge anything that was injected into them. Of course, they had an uneasy alliance with Voyager.
Yes.
Yeah, they
had an uneasy
convinced
alliance
them-
with the Borg to get past species 8472.
Oh, that's maybe what I'm thinking of. So, but yeah, I just thought that at the time, I was like, oh crap, here comes a mysterious race. Even the Borg didn't want to mess with it.
In a different space. I mean, we're really only
Fluidic space, yeah.
fluidic
Yep.
space. We're only familiar with, normal space and subspace, but here's another plane, I guess, that you could travel in.
Mhm.
So it was like, And even Wesley rattled off some things in Prodigy and went, "Oh, you're not supposed to know about that. You forget it."
You're not supposed to know. Yeah.
But it was, they're on my list as well. I thought this was very interesting from the standpoint of, hey, there are some things the Borg cannot assimilate, and what makes them. It was fascinating that we didn't look into what makes them unassimilatable. Do the Borg have kind of like lactose intolerance? Species 847.
No, I have written here in my notes their immune system, they're so aggressive that they can destroy anything from Borg nanoprobes to chemical pathogens.
Well, let's get some of that, and
Yeah.
we won't have another COVID pandemic.
Just put it right in the arm. Yeah.
Alrighty, and we'll go from the sublime to the ridiculous because my next species that I'm picking is the Packlids.
Yes.
Make
Because
description go, Clinton.
yeah, well,
You have the biggest hat now.
I do. I think one of the things that I like about the Binars is everyone takes them for granted. And
Binars, or you mean the Packlids?
no, the Packlids.
You said
And-
Binars.
Binars.
Oh, did I? Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my trying to keep track of the
Binars are for
sheet here.
computers.
So the Packlids, everyone takes them as like, oh, they're just like oafs.
The punchline. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yet a lot of times in the story, when we see them on Next Generation, well, they're gonna leave with Geordi, and and you have the same thing going on in Lower Decks, where they're just ridiculous, and the first thing they do is they take out a starship, they kill Shax, They get Freeman framed
Yep.
for blowing up the planet. So they're ridiculous, but at the same time, if you don't take them seriously, you're letting yourself in for trouble.
Mm-hmm.
That's their greatest weapon. Is nobody takes them seriously. What's
Yeah.
what's that Sun Tzu thing? Never underestimate your opponent, and they always get underestimated. So that's their greatest weapon. I think that's brilliant. And
That and hats.
I know a guy who looks like the one on the right, on the left.
Stupid always
That's
wins.
disturbing.
All right, let's move.
Chewing. Yeah.
Let's move on to
We should
yours.
get a T-shirt like that, Craig. Teeth are for chewing.
Check your number 5.
My number 5 is the Changelings, as in the Odo Changelings,
Yeah.
and the founders.
Founders. Yeah.
I obviously we're introduced to this with Odo on Deep Space Nine, but then that story evolves into so much more, and their distrust of the solids and blah 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 blah. But I think there's a cool story behind that, and an interesting culture. It would have been interesting to see what happened before they had this distrust. What was that great circle or the great link like? Aside from a shimmering pool of gold goop. But I think there's more story to be had with the Changelings than we were led to believe in this and Picard. They actually came out with, right? I think there's more to be told, and Odo does a great job. Renee does a great job with Odo.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to your next one, Craig. Hold on here.
The Cardassians and not the Kim and Chloe.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, the Amazon reader pronounces it Kardashians.
That's pretty funny.
I almost fell over when I heard that. And it's the not the calamarain, the calamarain.
I was going to say the calamari, so that would be worse.
That thing mispronounces everything.
All right. So I like the Cardassians. They're very disciplined in whatever work they're doing, and they're very authoritarian kind of culture, and very devoted to, state and family. Of course, we've seen, like Garrick, he was obviously very good at what he did, and to the point where you go, whose side is he really on? You always second guess where he's at in his headspace. I did. I think especially Deep Space Nine did a great job fleshing them out a little bit more than just a alien you see every once in a while. We saw him on TNG a couple times.
Yep, there are 4 lights.
Yeah, there are 4 lights, and so I think they did a good job fleshing them out, and I liked them a little bit more as like I said, a filled out race that was a formidable force, especially when you see what they did with Bajor and all that stuff. So, no, I liked them. Of course, it's easy to get one hooked on Kanar a little bit too much and kind of throw things.
That's just Damar because his name rhymes.
Damar Kanar. Yeah, his parents named him that. She was drinking too much Kanar when he was born.
Hey, even Ernest and Julio Gallo were named after a wine.
So what'd y'all think about the Cardassians?
I found some of the characters to be complex, and when you get beyond the main characters, it seemed like the complexity was gone.
Right.
And like Seska's like, I don't, not digging that. So I think it really depended an awful lot on the actor as to how intrigued I was by the race, by the species. Like I said, Damar, it was an interesting arc. He kind of switched his thought process, so that made him intriguing. But some of the other ones were just militaristic, and that was it.
Yeah, it was a military society, and that was intriguing from the standpoint that the only thing we've seen similar to that to this point was the Klingons. You know,
Yes.
they have to have battle to gain honor, to make conquests, and today is a good day to die. But this was a different slant on that military kind of society. So I found that fascinating. And I'll leave it at fascinating because I won't say it was completely entertaining all the time. It was tiresome in some points, like
Yeah.
Clinton said.
Well, as I mentioned, I know you said Clinton. Aside from the main characters, that got a little weak, but you know, I think Garrick and Damar and oh my God,
Gul Dukat? Gul
Well,
Dukat.
yes, yeah.
Well, Dukat.
I thought they were interesting in their own rights.
Well,
Let's see.
the one that was on TNG, was that Mulbeck or Mulbeck? Melbeck? No, that's a Wani.
Oh, and they had the headgear thing going on. They really had them look slightly different than
Yeah.
you see them today.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that if you didn't have Garrick, everything else would have been flatter still.
Yes,
You know,
he was
could see that.
definitely the nonconformity in the the storyline, shall we say? That
Yeah. Well, he was a spy type.
entertaining. Yeah,
It was the spy type. Like I said, every time he would say something, oh, he's going to help him out, or is he?
or is he? Yeah,
Yeah.
just plain simple Garrick.
all right. My next one is a bit controversial because is it a species or not? I don't know, but I'm going with it anyway for my own particular reason. And that is actually it's heavily mutated humans as seen in Star Trek Beyond.
Mhm.
So they are human, but it's kind of hard to notice that from what they've mutated into. And
Mutated into Idris Elba.
well, but see, my
I'll have
feeling
to
is
ask
it's
him
like
about that next week.
nothing better than hiring Idris Elba and making him completely unrecognizable for
Right.
the 90% of your movie.
Yeah.
That's a brilliant move right there.
Yeah.
You can certainly play that one up when you've shown the trailers.
You can
you
pay
know?
him much less.
So yeah, I think for that reason alone, they stood out to me going, you did what? For even when he's like half turning human on the space station, it's like it still don't really recognize him. It's I don't understand.
You know,
Why did they do that?
I've always thought, you know, actors, of course, they want their face on screen. So when we're watching this movie, I was like, oh, that's Idris Elba when he was in the
In the ship's log, in the
on the
was it
right.
Lexington.
No, when he was on the picture on the right, you
Yeah.
know, that form. And I was thinking, wow, they're going to cover his face for the whole movie, just like you were saying. And then I was like, oh, this is how they fix it. And they put him on the screen as a captain's log kind of thing.
Just kind of weird. Just kind of
Yeah.
weird.
Was weird.
All right, let's move on to your next pick, Chuck.
I've got another one that is like a super powerful being. We only get them in one episode of TNG, and this is the Dowd. It's the episode where the Enterprise comes across this planet that's mostly barren, and there's just the little patch where this old guy and his wife are living, and he just wants to be left alone.
Mm-hmm.
And he confesses at the end. He says, "I'm a Dowd, and my crime was that I wiped out an entire race called the Husnak." And I think there's much more. Again, I want a fanfic on this one because there's much more story to be had with this guy and his race. And maybe you go back a million or a billion years or whatever it is to when there was more than one, because we don't know how long this guy's been around. But he intrigued me from the standpoint that there's more story there, and they never embellished on it. Yeah. Who knows?
Well, the reveal came so late, you know, you didn't
Yeah.
have much time to do that.
And I think I got a trivia question one time on this. And they said either what was the race or what race did he obliterate? And I was like, I got both of those.
Yeah. Challenge accepted.
All right. And your next one, Craig?
So the next one is the Lanthanites. I thought that since we've seen the introduction of them, I thought it was interesting that they would live among humans and kind of keep low key for a long time. So they've been living on Earth for a long time among humans because they look identical to humans. And I just like the idea of them having an extremely long lifespan and just gather all this information throughout their 1,000-year life, and 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 in the case of Strange New Worlds, where she has all that stuff in her
telephone. Yeah.
yeah, she had a whole museum in there. So I thought this was an interesting race.
Maybe this is where the biblical story of Methuselah comes from.
Hmm.
Methuselah could have been a lanthanite.
Things that make you go,
Huh? Oh,
they make you go, huh? That could have just as well, I suppose.
yeah.
Yeah, and they all seem to have a connection to the Grateful Dead for some reason or another. So
Yeah.
there you go.
In the 1980s.
I will get.
All right. My next pick is the 10C from Star Trek Discovery. I thought this was a fascinating race. It's somewhat connected to the book that we're reading because this species lives on the other side of the Great Barrier, which is an interesting concept to go with, that you don't think of something. We always think about, okay, you have our galaxy and then a huge distance with nothing in it and then another galaxy. Well, what if there's something like right outside the door that you don't even know that it's there? And the story that they had and why they chose to just like be by themselves. And
Well, they were poking holes and blowing up planets.
well, and that's the other thing though, is that
they didn't know that we existed on the other side.
Right.
Yeah,
So for them, it's like, yeah, there's nothing there. We're just trying to grab some stuff that we need. And what's the big deal? So it is a concept that you have a species that is completely removed from anything that has to do with our galaxy in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's right there, right on the other side of the Great Barrier. So that is indeed one of the final frontiers.
Wrong
All right.
franchise.
Next up is you with your pick number 7.
Number
Chuck.
7 is, of course, the Borg.
The Borg.
I was fascinated with them ever since they were introduced, going, wow, this is cool. And secretly,
They sound Swedish.
yeah. Borg. Secretly, I always wanted to cosplay one, but holy crap, that's a lot of time to get into costume.
Yeah.
Hey, you thought you sweated a lot as Farnsworth.
Yeah, no, this is definitely a hard pass, but cool stuff, man. Cool stuff to be able to take the technology and again, you ever notice all the Borg are 2 legs and 2 arms and very humanoid, even though you can't tell what they once were most of the time? Like, wow, how'd they get rid of the Klingon ridges? Or
they did show in Prodigy, they did show a
yeah.
Not a
else.
Tellarite, but it was some other species that they had.
Was it First Contact? There was one. There was a Klingon with ridges. I seem to remember.
I think it was in a state of transformation.
Could be.
Oh, okay.
Where was your evolved sense of anyway? So, yep, Borg. What more can you say? Gotta love them.
All righty, and
They're not here yet.
They've been a lot of series.
Yep,
we've had them in Voyager, Next Generation, obviously, Prodigy, Lower Decks. Did we have them? Well, Enterprise. They were in Enterprise.
Picard.
Yep. So they're all over the place. Those Borg.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. They're everywhere.
All right. Let's move on to your pick number 7, Craig.
Number 7 was the Gorn, or Gorn, as I've got written right.
Which version?
Actually, I
your
thought
selection, your whole pick there.
Yeah, that first one from TOS was scary. No, I think the ones from Strange New Worlds really took the cake. I mean, and you know what? They've changed their look. This is another one like the Tellarites we were talking about. They changed their look so much over time. I mean, they're barely similar, but they, anyway. I liked how they fleshed him out in Strange New Worlds. It was they made him a big, very scary. As far, not really, I wasn't really scared. I went to sleep.
The one on the
You know,
video in the glass cabinet on the left reminds me of Dr. Finkelstein from Nightmare Before Christmas. Sally, where's my suit?
Yes, right.
And I didn't even put in the
breath.
I didn't even put in the animated one from Lower Decks.
Oh yeah,
the wedding.
animated.
I ran out of room for Gorns.
Yeah. I like their nursery planets were weird. We heard not Ortega. Lon deeply talk about having to live in their nurseries with people getting eggs deposited in their bodies. So it was kind of freaky, and I was like, wow, they're really fleshing this out and making
Strange
it
New
top the
Worlds
Borg
is-
a little
yeah.
bit.
Strange New Worlds has really built them out nicely. That's the one thing that they've been doing well.
Yeah. So that was great. So there you go. I picked a Gorn.
And rewatching Enterprise to get the still of the Gorn that was in the Mirror Universe episodes there.
Mhm.
Early days of animation, that kind of animation, early days, man,
Oh, yeah.
early days.
It was a little rough.
It was. All right. My pick number 7 is the Aurelians.
There you go.
So
Got their
we
hands.
we have several different iterations of them. One iteration is, of course, the first time we see them is in Yesteryear, and that's when Spock and Kirk come back from going through the Guardian Forever, and suddenly they've got a different crew, and an Aurelian is one of them. Now it's interesting because they use the same model for, not unlike Filmation would do something like this. but they use the-
never reused footage.
They use the same model for the
Char on the Jihad.
right, but he's not the same race at all.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So they're trying to retroactively in some places say, well, they are the same race, but they got split off like 700 years ago or
We
something.
don't talk about the whole ridges on the forehead thing.
Yeah.
That's with off-worlders.
Yeah.
And then Adric is another variation, really, because Adric doesn't have wings.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot going on here.
Starbelly Sneetches kind of thing.
Yeah. So it's I think I'd like to know more about, this whole thing, including, if you want to make that canon about the splitting off of the two separate groups.
Yeah.
Okay, let's have more about what the story is with the race, with the Aurelians.
Now, were they Aurelians in Lower Decks? The bird race?
Yeah, the center image right there is two of them that had one of their house in the middle of a space station in a forest section. They got knocked out. But also there's another shot. I think it's from the second episode, actually, when they're bringing they're trying to find the Klingon ambassador who got drunk and stole the shuttle and
Right.
took off someplace.
Oh yeah.
They're in the
Oh,
marketplace. They're in the marketplace, and there's an overhead shot, and there's one in the overhead shot as well.
Wow.
So
Maybe
they
Lower
are
Decks.
definitely all over the place. Well, they
Mhm.
can fly some. Well, Idrik apparently cannot fly, but that's
He can transport.
yeah.
can-
So he's good anyway.
He can dream.
All right,
His bedroom's lined with newspaper.
I don't know about that. Let's move on, shall we? Chuck alluded to the fact that his next pick is
A repeat. Species 8472.
Yeah.
So I think we've said enough about that. We can go on.
Okay. All right. Good enough. Then we will move on to Craig's here.
Yeah, the Jem'Hadar, the engineered soldiers form the Dominion, and they don't eat, sleep, or reproduce naturally. Well, I don't know why that's in my notes, but
Don't drink, don't smoke. What do you
or they do. Well, they do drugs.
Yes. Yeah.
So they're reliant on the Ketracel White.
Why would
Um,
you have an external hose that is subject to being caught on the next doorknob or Yeah.
Hey,
Somebody
we
could
don't.
just yank that baby right out.
Well, we don't know what the Dominion was thinking when they designed this.
Yeah, might have been a
But-
safety thing for them. you know.
Mhm.
It's not a freaking camelback.
Yeah, but I thought, they were, like you said, they were like troops, like soldiers, but it was interesting to see how subservient they were to the Dominion when they were spoken to. It was like, okay, fine, we'll do that, but anyway, I just thought they were interesting, very strong, and wouldn't War fought one, didn't he? When was that? Was
I
that
don't remember fighting one. It's possible though.
when
It's
they were
possible.
in the cell? What was that he was fighting? When they made him fight, and Worf was
he
like,
with-
"I could
with-
do this all day."
Oh,
You know,
when Bashir was there as well. In that,
Yeah.
yeah, could be.
yeah.
I was thinking about the time I think isn't Cisco like stuck with one at some point, just the Devon conversation with it or something like that.
Yeah, they had tea together.
Oh yeah, they did. But I found it interesting that you get the sense that they were really resentful that they relied on the Vorta for this tetracell white.
Yeah,
That they really did not like it at all because they had no use for that species at all.
exactly. Yeah, they did not.
All right, let me go on to my next one, which is the Nasine. And we know Nasine best as the caretaker.
The caretaker. That's right.
I found this a fascinating race because they, by accident, destroyed the entire environment for the Ocampa,
Mhm.
and then said, well, we can't just leave them. So they left two of them behind to take care of them. And that was their job. Just you have to, protect them and take care of them. And one of them decided, nah, I'm good, and took off.
Peace
And-
out.
Yeah. And the caretaker was like, I'm about to die soon, so I got to pick somebody else to do this because I can't do it anymore. Literally, I won't be able to do it anymore. So he devoted his entire life to this. And I thought, what dynamic was that? Was there a lottery going on or something? Did they
Yeah.
volunteer to do this?
They drew
know,
straws.
What happened? And it just, and how did the one that stayed feel when the other one who was supposed to stay left?
He was the Ensign Bailey.
Mm.
Right.
So I found it asking a lot of questions about this species.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's more story to be had with that because theoretically there's a whole race of them out there somewhere.
Just moving on down the road.
I think I remember there was a Voyager book, a book about the caretakers, and went deeper into.
Oh, cool.
I think so. I have to go look.
What's the actual species name?
It's the Nasine.
I
Nacene.
think my doctor prescribed that.
Well, if you just be careful of the side effects. That's what I'm saying. Could send you to the Delta Quadrant if you're not.
Or you may be taking care of some race that you didn't.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. You could end up wiping out a race.
Yeah, that's not good. All right, let's move on to another species. Chuck, your number 9 pick is.
Oh, you can't go too far without talking about the Vulcans. So I like the Vulcans. Very logical, very straightforward, hard.
Hilarious too.
Yeah, great joke tellers.
Yeah.
Comedy is.
Look, I'm all
stand-up.
smiling there in that.
Yep.
Yeah. That's like he was in that shirt that says
Yes,
Darth Vader emotions, and he's like happy, sad. It's the same picture.
right. Although Tuvok is looking a little quizzical there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, you gotta love the Vulcans. There's so much to. Although there are some that can be duplicitous, like T'Pring. You know,
Mhm.
she had a plan. She wanted to be with Stan. But the one who really set the mold, Spock. He's the OG Vulcan. And I really think it's cool that they were able to carry his story into the TNG era with unification.
Yeah.
And we got to see his father several more times. Like, this is pretty cool stuff, and they were able to take them into all the other series as well. So, well,
And Strange New Worlds has done a good job with them as well. Ethan Peck's Spock, I would say, has probably been the most entertaining one. With some weird situations.
Yes.
He's been put in, and which was very entertaining.
when he got turned human.
Yeah, that's right. He's running in the bathroom. He's running.
All right, your number 9 picks, Craig.
The Trill. And the Trill are interesting because we've seen, well, actually we've seen a few, but one keeps resurfacing all the time in several different timelines. So the Trill are a population where there's a host and a symbiont, and sometimes we've seen that the host is not necessarily a Trill themselves. So, you know what I'm saying. So, but yeah, these have been interesting because they always draw out the history of their past lives. They still remember the things, and the host kind of can surface some of that as well.
Usually when they refer to the Trill, they're referring to
the host,
the
symbiote.
the potential host, because not everybody gets to be a host,
Mhm.
but it's the humanoid with the spots.
Although apparently we
Are
find
the
out
symbionts, are they also Trill, or are they a different race that
they always
is-
seem to be referred to as the symbiont. So
Yeah.
I maybe that's
are
the
they
name of the species.
indigenous to the same planet? I'd be curious to know more about this relationship. We never really did get much of the who's and we've seen them plenty of times in the little what do you call it, the fry pond, where they're raising them or keeping them, the koi pond where they swim around,
Where the tadpoles are just going around.
right,
there.
where they
Koi pond.
and if there's such a shortage of good hosts, why do we have a koi pond full of extras?
Yeah.
But one of the things we learned in Discovery is, it isn't anything special, because Adira is not a Trill.
That's what I was
No.
saying. There's been a couple instances where, the symbiote had to be put into somebody.
It's more like a religious order that doesn't want to lose its power.
Well, I think that's why they didn't want Adira to stay, because they felt like that would unstabilize their entire culture with that kind of knowledge.
There's more to this story than we're being led to believe. More fanfic.
Indeed. All right, and my number 9 pick, so my penultimate, is the Endoprosians.
Oh,
Yes.
yay. Live
Because-
long and proper.
They just, I got a kick out of them when we saw that episode and the rewatch that we
This
did
was-
recently of it.
Galaxy Quest version of
Yeah.
Yeah. And then to see them pop up, they've popped up at least 2 more times. If you're watching the video, I have where they're in one of the mirror universes or the alternate universes
Mhm.
that the Prodigy crew members go through. And then they're also in a shot, which we talked about at the end of
the
one
end
of the
of-
episodes,
yeah,
end of the
Starfleet
seasons,
Academy or
where, they're in the same class that Dr. Aaron is teaching. This one
And why would you insist on still having this sewn together patchwork uniform when you could have a nice, clean,
Well,
not
perhaps it's
borrowed-
a cultural exchange thing going on here. Perhaps
Yeah.
they're not, they might be.
Exchange patches.
and they're all green. I guess they didn't have any other dyes on that planet.
No, they weren't all green. They had red, and they had, I think, did they have yellow as well?
The
I can't
majority of
remember
them were
if they-
green.
Yeah. But when they did the play, I think they had all 3 colors. when
Oh,
they did
yeah,
the
yeah,
play.
yeah.
All right. And we're coming up to our last one. So, Chuck, your
Finally.
last pick is
My last pick is the Tribbles.
They tickle.
There's introduced in TOS aboard Space Station K9 by our good friend Cyrano Jones, and they soon got out of control. We know what happened. We even had them show up in DS9 when we had Trials
Edward.
and Tribulations. We had them show up in Prodigy. We've had them show up in Lower Decks. We've had them show up in a lot of places. And
Discovery.
we know that Klingons don't like them, so that's always fun.
Let's just beam
Unless-
them over to the Klingons.
Unless you got yourself a glommer to eat them up, but that's I don't know if that's inhumane or not. But tribbles are cool. Everybody loves a tribble. Well,
Okay.
all the humans love tribbles.
Well, it was all
Well-
Edward's fault, by the way.
And you have nice and furry things there, so that feeds right into, no pun intended, perhaps your last pick for favorite species.
Moopsy.
Moopsy.
So the cute, white,
call.
fluffy appearance,
It'll
but
drink
Moopsy
your
is one of the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. What was that, Chuck?
It'll drink your bones.
It'll drink your
Yes.
bones. Yeah. So, you got to be careful with Moopsy.
What is
I
that thought cloud he's got going on?
He's I was trying to find a picture of him, like, so that's when he was attacking one of the other exhibits. So he's dreaming about it in this image I made. So.
Yeah. And as Chuck was saying, it can liquefy and extract an entire skeletal structure of a living organism within seconds. That's how it drinks the bones.
Indeed. And my last pick is, well, I put down the species, but I had to do this. So it's the Delmirians, but really it's all about Sneed.
Are you skulking again?
Yeah.
Nice end. That's a good
Yeah,
closer.
that was a good one.
All righty. So those are our picks for our favorite.
Get
Star
a real
Trek
job, Sneed.
Yeah. We all know you do a lot of sneaking around. All right. That was a lot of fun to go through. And I thought I'd found a very comprehensive list that I sent to Chuck and Craig, and found out it wasn't as comprehensive as I thought, because I went to use it later on myself and went, there's a lot of stuff that's not here. So
Oh, yeah.
that doesn't seem to be any really definitive list any place that I can find anyway of all of them. Now you can go to something like Memory Alpha, Memory Beta, so forth, and
That's got to be pretty inclusive.
but you'd have to know it,
Laid
to
out.
find
You
it.
know what you're looking for.
Oh, yeah,
right?
absolutely.
There's
Yeah.
not
So-
a list that you can just
Right.
go, tell me all the races.
Is there not a coffee table book? That's all the.
Well, that'd be very. You need it. That would definitely be a coffee table book,
Yeah.
Kramer type thing.
It comes with its own legs. Yeah.
Yes, and they're alien legs too. Well, they're species legs. No, they're I don't know what they're sentient legs. Who knows what they are? Anyway, all right. But that about wraps it up for this episode. And you can find me, Clinton, at Comedy Forecast, all one word with the number 4. No, not red shirts time. Go back here. There we go. It looks so good on paper. Anyway, who speaks for you guys?
Go ahead,
Chuck goes.
Craig.
Oh, that's right. You did it last time. So you can find Chuck and I at the Technorama podcast. Just search for Technorama in Google and you can get right over there. And we do shows relatively once a week, depending on the travel plans and other things. So
Got a May hiatus coming up is what he's trying
yeah,
to say.
May's kind of thin. So, but that's all right. We'll pick it back up in June.
Right.
But yeah, we talk about tech, science, sci-fi, and all things geek.
So speaking about that, we'll have to schedule our next show for the topic is Trek. But in the meantime, if you have not read it and you want to read the book that we're going to be talking about next episode, it's Q Space.
Yeah.
There's a series of 3 books. The Q Continuum, I believe, is the name of the
By
series.
Greg Cox.
Mhm.
But the first book is Q Space, and that's the one we will be talking about on the next episode. All right. But for now, it's time to hit the theme, boys.
Did you do your show?
I did. I will do it again, though. Comedy Forecast, all one word with the number 4.
No, that was quick. Good. Go.
Okay, if you like the show, please be sure to tell blah, blah. If you like the show, please be sure to tell a friend about it and subscribe so you never miss an episode. We'd love to hear from you. Follow us on Blue Sky, visit our Facebook page, or call us at The Topic is Trek, which is 816-TREKKER. That's 816-873-5537. Until next time, on behalf of Chuck, Craig, and myself, I'm Clinton, thanking you for listening. And as we always say here on The Topic is Trek, don't
On the red
Put
Put
on
on
Put
the
on
red
red
shirt.
shirt.
the red shirt. Don't put on the red shirt.
Bye-bye.
Was that Moopsie?
Oopsie.
I think I printed out about 2 or 3 of those Moopsies.
All right, we're going to end the video feed.
Travis
Thank you for watching.
and what's Mike's daughter name? Travis and Shannon on the cruise have a stuffed Moopsie that they bring along.
Oh, yeah.
And they had a picture. I think it made it on the highlight reel where Moopsie was attacking Travis's neck.
Sounds great.
Oh, that sounds like a highlight for me.